Believing is the power. Believing is the power. You know. Now, I want to talk to you a little about this charisma that we talked about, that everyone thinks like, you know, charisma is that elusive thing that, hey, if you don't have that, baby, then, you know, just give it up. And it's another one of those things where I just say, untrue. Untrue. Now, it's best to go with your right brain when you're developing these things, but now and then a little left brain substantiation doesn't hurt. And there was a study that was done once, and it kind of amazes me that this has kind of got lost through the cracks, and this isn't used in major ways by people if they're kind of left brain singing instructors or some that are guiding or trying to guide, whether they know it or not, but maybe good instructors, you know, right brain singing, which is developing the feel, and it's all picturing, and there was a lot to envisioning, which you think is sight versus, you know, going through the auditory. There's a lot to envisioning that is a major part of singing. But on this charisma, there was a study done. It was absolutely amazing. Just love this study. And it was so simple in one sense, but still so telling. And they took a select audience, you know, random people in one way or another, and they took a select audience, and then they took singers who, I believe they didn't know any of them. And matter of fact, there might have been some that really weren't singers or only barely sang, and they just didn't know anything and so forth. But nonetheless, they took the singers and they did this little test and this little study with the select audience, and it all related to charisma. And they wanted them to rate each singer that came before them, to rate them on a scale of charisma, whether it was a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 100, you know, what's the difference actually? I mean, there's a high way up there, and there's a middle, and there's a low. And so anyway, they were to rate them on a scale, as you know, as far as the singer's charisma. Now, here's the incredible thing that happened. Any of those who sang at first, they would have them reappear and come through again at different times. And they had them do just one little technique different, just one little technique different. So let's say a singer or quite a few of them that maybe scored very, very low in charisma. They were amongst them all. And the technique that they had them do was simply this. Now, it's under the heading of phrasing. But be careful, because there's some that will do, you know, so much phrasing, they already do it, or they're hearing this and they go, you know, running over the hill with this with so much phrasing that they're way off the song basic feel, and people will just leave the room or, you know, leave the auditorium and more. What they did was, whoever doing this knew knew that's all you need. It's like, wearing something with a little class maybe. If a woman or guy's going out, it just needs that little extra touch, and too much is just too much. What they did was they told them to go through the song that they're going to sing and take just one part, at the most two. One part or at the most two. And any part different than what is the normal, accepted way, of the person knew in their mind of that song, whether it's the way you express that word, or if the notes, go up in a little bit or they come down, if there's a part that makes you feel it should be something else, just change that one part. I mean, it might have been a part that was just a little bit in the cadence. If it went A, B, D, C, they might have said just do A, B, D, C. Just change it in some way that feels right. And we'll relate this in a minute to the king of charisma, one of the kings of charisma, by all means, old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, and one of his tricks that I'll tell you too. Very, very related. And so they only changed that one part that they felt it maybe should have went up in notes, or just been a little quicker here, and then held that note out to something that was different than the song, and that they would know, and that the audience would know was their own interpretation. Now that sounds like a big thing, their own interpretation. And they might be somebody who didn't know how to do any interpretation, and they still don't. They're only changing one part, maybe one note of the song. And so what incredibly happened was, any one of the singers, every single one of the singers, whether they had scored high, medium high before in charisma, or those middle, or even those very, very low, but still, every single one of the singers who came by, because they all did this, increased their score, greatly increased their score by the audience in the rating of charisma. Again, that all elusive charisma cannot be described, cannot be gotten, cannot be had. If you don't have it, baby, just consider yourself plain Jane or plain John. And again, like I say, untrue. Because here is a rating by the audience. I believe that's what counts, especially in singing and music and artistic pursuits. The audience, the crunch of what counts. And they're actually being asked instead of trying to guess about it, so they're getting a gauge and a testing and a rating on it. And every single one who did this, every single one, greatly increased their rating of charisma. So therefore, they had a grasp and held on to and increased and pulled themselves up on the ladder of charisma by doing this changing here, and not even a big changing, once or twice. Some of them only did it once. Now you can almost interpret here that what happened is they're hearing this person do something, and they heard him do it that wasn't before, so they're seeing that person did it their way, which was a uniqueness, and they chose that way, and it just aligned with everything about that's charisma. Yeah, I can dig that. This guy, this gal, they've got it going on. And they gave him a great rating in charisma just by that. Now, a last real boom on this. I mean, this is a boom if you get it. Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, the definite king of charisma, and he was considered the king of phrasing. Phrasing is part of like styling. And reading up on him once, it was like, ooh, this little gem that was in this otherwise bland article. This little gem that was just in this article that was otherwise another generic article talking about Frank Sinatra and how well he's loved and how many albums he's done and all these things that people already know and has been out there, or so many numerous of times. But they happen to bring up who's the king of phrasing, or maybe they mentioned charisma, but of that point. And so they said, in speaking with him on this, just one little paragraph, they found out that one of his little secrets that he did, how did he formulate his styling. If he's doing a song different, or this part of the song different, or this part is coming out different. How does that happen, Frank? How does that happen, old Blue Eyes? And he said, well, he said, one way it's kind of simple, because everything doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be, if it's simple, caught and actually applied or taken deep. Some simple things are very, very deep. Old still waters run deep. And so his simple thing that he did was this, and he revealed it. But again, I haven't heard it shared out there, and it's a major thing of becoming a singing superstar. I mean, take that roof off that place, baby, sing it out. And that was this. He said he would take a song, he would take the lyrics in front of him, and while the music was playing, just the music, it could have been with him, it could have been a live band playing it, but, he also could have had a recording of it, in either case, with just the music playing. He would walk, and I believe sometimes this can help, a little pacing. Some things can awaken the creative part of the brain, and whether the walking is satisfying the left part of the brain or it connects with the right part of the brain, I don't really know on that, but I do know that a lot of creative thinking often takes place when people are pacing to and fro. That's why a lot of us, when we're on the phone, we might be not knowingly walking the whole house and every floor. If only we could, vacuum while we're doing that, we'd get something accomplished, huh? So, anyway, here's what he did. He would walk to and fro while the music was playing with the lyrics in front of him, and he would then be singing the lyrics? No. While the music was playing, he would outwardly be speaking, just talking the lyrics, just talking it like a story or what the story of the song is, so we can hear it just as the story. And when he did this, it came by hearing the story of the song now, because he's not hearing he's hearing the music of the melody, but of the lyrics, that's the part he's going to sing. He's not hearing the music of the lyrics. He's first hearing the story of the lyrics. The first hearing the story of the song. And it's waking up in him, where are the points of the song? Where are even the subtleties of the song that if somebody were conveying this to me, and wow, they would let me know what happened, the story behind the song, or I was telling somebody and I was really in my heartfelt mood, and how would it come out in the natural voice? And so this and more goes on. Again, it's always more. But he wasn't thinking all that. He just knew it worked. Maybe in the beginning or middle or wherever he thought about it sometimes. But basically, as soon as any time he was doing, he just did it. And it did all these things and more. It woke up in him in each song. Where is maybe a power of a little subtlety here that needs to give a little style that somebody wouldn't caught if they're just belting out each note. And so that's a major secret taken by the king of charisma to charisma. Take the lyrics, have the melody in the background, an instrumental of it, and sometimes we can't do that. We'll still just hear it in your head, but walk back and forth, just reading the story of the song. And think about what connects with you. Don't be thinking someone else. Connects with you. If this were your story, I mean fully your story, and you were telling somebody, and there were parts of it that were, you weren't looking for it to happen, but there were parts of it that if you were really in the story that others might not have, but there was a part that was really getting you. It might be a part there that it talks about, in the song, a thing your old man used to do, and teaching you a lesson, but now he's gone, and that might be just so overpowering to you. Well, think about it. Let it come out. That's the right side of the brain. This is not fluff general stuff here. This do yourself and your artistic pursuits, and you're singing a massive, massive, massive favor. Forget me or anybody if you open up these right sides, if you open up the right side of your brain, if you open up this, which will be not thinking about it, you just be knowing what opens it up, which is feel and intuitiveness and trusting yourself. And if you hadn't done it first, it's going to take a little bit to take off all the covers and so forth, the one big crusted in cover. And I say covers because in some sense, once it's unleashed, all of a sudden, boom, it can be there. But this is very real stuff of what really goes on with those who have already attained some sort in different genres of singing superstardom. And with the vast majority of them, there is a commonality. And that is they have the feel of the song. They have the sway, the feel, the styling, the authenticness, the conviction. They've got it going on. And they're not segmenting and thinking about all those things. They developed them and let them come loose on their own and threw off the shackles of all this analyzing scales and perfect note. And that brings up another point. Here's just one way maybe to think of right brain versus left brain as it applies to singing. And that is this. The left brain, and also left brain instruction on voice or other types of music, is over analyzing, is over perfection, worrying about getting that perfect note. They're thinking about the perfect and worried and analyzing the note. And the right brain is thinking about the emotion coming out. And the notes will match the emotion, and they'll get better and better at being in tune, if you will. They will get better and better at being in tune, and they feel for it, and all lining up. And once they do the right brain in a right way released, it'll go to better tuning without any thought of it. You hear some kids sing in a choir, and sometimes, well, not just that they're singing the song with that angelic voices that we just blow us away, but you know, somebody will tell them sing this, boom, 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 and I don't know how young do they go, but there certainly can be 6, 7, 8, and whatever, singing in these choirs or something, and they're hitting all the notes, and they're not out of tune, and I mean, they're just wet behind the ears, you know. I mean, they just kind of appeared on the day. They haven't been here too long. So it obviously is already within. And see, so you're going within and you're letting it come out rather than learning out and forcing it in. It doesn't work that way. And so, again, left brain looks for perfect note, while right brain looks for artistic emote. Artistic emote. Well, welcome to our conclusion here. And we're going to round out with some of what we call right brain techniques or right brain guidance. And now some of you might be saying, or will be saying at the end, now you haven't itemized out the seven must-haves to singing superstardom. Well, we've actually touched upon all of them, but we purposely haven't given them out in their itemized form yet because I mean, that is just so left brain Larry that we're going to stick with the right brain. But at the end, for a little satisfaction of your left brain, I will have them on the screen itemized as we've given them here. We have purposely gone into each one, and not as a list, but gone into the feel of each one. And then rather than itemize it, which will then bring it over into the left brain, we've gone in, we've given the feel, and then we've kind of floated to the next one and the next one. So they've been buried gems within this here, and then you'll see them itemized at the end. But review this and think about it and let the feel of this get in you often. If this video never existed, if I never existed, all these things are still the truth of what the singing superstars actually do. Many of them do them or used to do them without even being aware of them. If you did any of these 7 must-haves and part of the right brain singing without being aware of it, you would still be opening up the artistic genius, the artistic emoting, the artistic captivation, the artistic charisma, the artistic appreciation and journey that you're bringing the audience in connection with the present moment. You would still be doing all that. And when many people do all those things, if they're not aware of them, still the art of doing them is the necessary ingredient to captivate that audience and to lift them up and to bring them to a moment shared in time and a different place and space. That is the heart of why they're there, and hoping that you, the artist in front of them, will do just that and bring them on that journey. A little time away from their cares and tears and fears. A little time away. A little time into that other part of the mind that has no time and has no cares and tears and fears. And so we will itemize them at the end, and so your left brain will be most satisfied. It will not bring you to artistic super singing stardom. Your right brain will do that, but you will still have it there to refer to and then come back and go to the field, the right brain, and developing these areas and expanding them out. And so, you will see obviously that this is not a video that does, where you want to, everybody's got to sing those scales, and you have to go, that is so left brain. The developing of a note is good, but you're thinking the note and you're not thinking the emote because they're generic notes. And so, not a good deal. It will kind of destroy or ruin or lead you astray and then make it hard for you to come back to the right brain vocal box connection versus the wrong left brain. And that's why they say it's a lot harder to unlearn wrong vocal habits, to unlearn them. Okay, now, one of the things we want to get into, though, but, some of you out there might be saying, well, hey, you know what, Frank, all that's good, and I can kind of dig that, like you say, but still I need something while I'm kind of floating around in my right brain, and those are some really good points, and hopefully you will take them down, folks, and you will take them to heart about charisma. Where is that taught? And you just gave us a couple pointers that are like right on the money and creating a moment. Where is that taught? And you just developed it out and gave us a good feel for it. And being in the present moment, where is that discussed? And yet you discussed it and we're getting a little feel for how important it is. And it is. It is. And, but, can you give us a couple pointers in sounding better and sounding, you say do it in a natural voice, but some of you might say, Frank, my voice when I sing is like a duck with post-nasal drip. And well, there's a couple thoughts that come to mind on that. There's a couple thoughts. And one of them is this. And let me turn down the reverb here. I had it up for the previous section there. Thank you. And but those points are too good to take out, so bear with that. And by the way, in our program, Living with Your Heroes and the Power of Emulation to Transformation, I want to touch about two things here. First of all, emulation is a major ingredient. It is probably the biggest ingredient for human achievers in perhaps the whole of human history and human accomplishment. Probably the whole of the history, all the world around and all the time around. The most powerful ingredient of lifting up and elevating those closer and closer to their goals and even above their goals and above their emulated stars and superstars and whatever field or aspect of life they chose to emulate. Emulation is the most underrated, forgotten power to bringing up any and all of your goals. And I relay it here because this is exactly a type of goal, artistic singing pursuit, where emulation can be the most powerful, flesh and bones, breathing, three-dimensional way to truly get and attain and have your goals. And I'm here to tell you, even taking the risk that some of you might say, and it would be good, showing you're paying attention, but Frank, what about the part that you mentioned, our natural voice? And if we're emulating somebody, we're going away from that. But as we discuss in the course, but we're here to discuss it here too, because we're trying to give something out, a lot of things out, free for folks to increase their goals and increase their life dreams and more. Because if you give out, like we mentioned earlier, and it's a truth that I believe and many people believe, the more you give out, the more is comes back to you in this one time around on this spinning little green planet here. And that's our little sermon for the day. But you know what? I'll take the risk, because first of all, you're going to take somebody, and that's something we discuss in the program too, but you're going to take someone that you emulate, living with your heroes, one of your heroes, somebody that you can relate to. And you need to find someone that you can relate to and feels right, and who they are and the way they do it, and singing, the way they sing and what they sing, and how they are as a person, and their charisma and their personification and all that feels right for you. So therefore, you're not going to go that foreign to your voice. But also, you're going to take something that though it might be slightly different, because everyone does have an individual voice that is unique as their fingerprint. There is no one around the globe that has the exact fingerprint as you, nor the voice print as you. But you're going to take someone who's in that general universe, in that general world of where you want to go. And so a lot of times, as we do in the program, and we have a technique there, a very well-developed technique called the living, your success room. And you're going to go back and forth with this person in your right brain and in your mind and in your emulation, their voice, your voice, their voice, your voice, and it's sort of an oscillating pattern. And it's going to bring you up, then you're going to listen to them up higher, and it's going to bring you up higher, higher and higher in this oscillation back and forth. And it's going to bring up and improve your voice, not a voice or the voice, which is what too many of the left brain approaches and didactic approaches and scales and lessons and teaching, and they go too left brain. What they try to do is improve a voice or the voice, and sometimes people can come out of it with some improvement, they think, of things sounding better and hitting notes better, but not their voice. You want to think about improving your voice. Remember and never forget the beginning story we told of the instructor to Johnny Cash. He told him to stop taking lessons, left brain lessons, and never deviate from his natural voice. So with the emulation, you're going up and up and up. And what you're doing is you're using them to lift up where you think you can't go, but you can. But your right brain wants to see emulation as picturing a person. So it has vision in it, it has feel in it, it has 3 dimensions, and it's spatial, and so that's why it connects so deeply with the right brain. Emulation is more powerful than you could ever imagine. It does all these things and more. Remember, we talk, it's always more. And so it lifts you up higher, and then as you go higher, your right brain releases all the crusted coverage that was holding you down, and then you're hearing a next higher level. And it believes it can go to that next higher level. It's hearing that person that you're starting to get attuned with and fold more and more and more. And we do it in what we call full immersion. It's full immersion when you're going to emulate somebody. That's how you make it believable to the right side of the brain.